This is the morning brief from the Economic Times.
Big bets, blind trades, and a street where cash is king. That's Sin City Central, the famous Las Vegas Strip. Now cut to Mumbai, the maximum city. It's still all about big bets, but this time it is in the stock markets. And the holding house is the market regulator Sebi. You may wonder what these two have in common. Well, a lot more than what meets the eye. The basic mantra is the same: the house always wins. And in this case, Sebi is taking lessons from Vegas casinos to stay ahead of tricksters. It's Friday, the 10th of June. From the Economic Times, I'm Nehal Chaliawala, and you are listening to Sebi's bet on casino AI on the morning brief. Whether it is card counting at the casino or insider trading at the stock markets, the watchdogs spend big bucks to prevent people from gaming the system. It's no surprise then that Sebi is keen to buy an artificial intelligence tool that Vegas casinos use for smoking out cheaters.
Sebi is in talks with one of such AI providers to buy this software, and they want it to be customized as per the regulatory needs of Sebi. Like, for instance, these casino softwares are largely built to, analyze the bets of the gamblers. At Sebi, these platforms will be used to analyze the trades.
That's my ET colleague Pavan Burugula, who first broke the story this week. The tool will essentially analyze millions of trades every day and flag those that seem suspicious. Then, SEBI investigators will go through these trades to see if it needs further investigation. Quite nifty.
SEBI does not extensively disclose what sort of surveillance systems it uses. But what we have gathered is that all the existing AI tools, they need lot of input data to throw out the red flags. But these casino AIs are surprisingly good at throwing up red flags even when there is little or no data. So this is what makes this tool unique.
It's a cat and mouse game between SEBI and fraudsters. And every tool that gives the markets regulator even a marginal benefit counts. To understand why SEBI spends a lot of its resources on curbing insider trading, we must first understand what insider trading means.
Insider trading is a situation where you are buying or selling shares of a listed company based on some information or knowledge that you have, which is not otherwise known to the public at large.
That's Moin Ladha, partner at law firm Khaitan and Company.
So it could be two cases. You may know of some fact which will impact the price in a downward manner, and therefore you are selling the shares before that information comes to the public knowledge. You may, on the other hand, know of a possible event which will have a positive effect, and therefore you will purchase shares in anticipation to take advantage when the price actually starts to rise. So, this is what is insider trading.
Can you give an example of how insider trading works?
Yeah, I mean, see, there are different ways this would work, but just let's take an example that there is a CEO who's very important to the business and has really got a lot of advantage and benefit to the company, and you there is some sort of confrontation with the management, and therefore he's about to resign. Now, because you're a part of the HR team or someone who's very close to this process, you are aware that he will resign, and there is going to be a lot of uncertainty on how the business will function, whether the same kind of strategies will be available, how will the clients or customers react. So, in anticipation, you sell your shares, and thereafter, a day or two later, the information comes to the market, and the prices drop by the circuit limit, let's say 20%. Now, you have actually saved yourself from a loss which would have otherwise been 20%. And in effect, you have actually done an insider trading. So the idea of the regulator is to ensure there is parity of information, and nobody, because of their position or access, takes an advantage of the market and thereby causes a disadvantage to other public shareholders who didn't have such access.
Besides insider trading, there is front running and price manipulation. Front running basically means buying or selling stocks before a major transaction in the market based on, of course, insider information. One essentially gets unfair advantage by running at the front of a large order. Take, for instance, the recent case of Axis Mutual Fund. Executives at the mutual fund allegedly shared tips with outsiders, which was further used by 7 entities in Gujarat for trading. This is called front running. Then there's price manipulation, which means just that, manipulating the price of a stock to benefit at the expense of others. Think of the popular market jargon pump and dump, where a stock is driven up by large orders, usually coupled with false information. When other investors start buying into the hype, the manipulators sell out and book profits. The inverse of that is called poop and scoop. Market slang is funny. Now, insider trading has been as old as public markets themselves. But over the past few years, newer technologies have made it quite easy to access insider information. Think about it. Before the age of smartphones, information transfer was slow. People would have to make telephone calls to share a tip. But things like instant messaging have made things much simpler. Even getting in touch with someone privy to inside information has become easier in the age of social media. Moin, how is Sebi trying to keep up with all of this?
The regulator has constantly been taking steps to ensure they also are able and well equipped to deal with such situations, and therefore they have been constantly upgrading their technology. The SEBI chairman as well had clearly mentioned in his statement, the ex-SEBI chairman, Mr. Tyagi, that they plan to ensure new technology tools are used which involve artificial intelligence, big data analytics, natural language processing, and all of this was done with an intent to curb market manipulation. Also in 2020, SEBI put together a 4-year roadmap for improving technology, and there's a budget of about 500 crores attributed to that.
Sebi revamped its prevention of insider trading rules in 2019. Under the new rules, the regulator has asked companies to maintain a database of all the people who have access to price-sensitive information. The database also includes information like their permanent account numbers, the stocks they own, and the names of their immediate relatives. Meanwhile, SEBI, the Reserve Bank of India, and the Income Tax Department are sharing information to make it easier to catch suspicious activity. All this is helping the regulator speed up investigation.
In the earlier days, one would actually have to wait out for a tip. Once a tip would have come, they would ask for certain documentation. By the time documentation would come, there would have been so much of evidence that is no longer available. So, and it would be very difficult to correlate, because by the time you would have started to do the fishing for information, a lot of time would have already been spent, and there would have been a lot of time available to the person who has undertaken such a transaction to see how the evidence can be tampered with. All of that goes away now with with all the technology, the database maintenance, and various applications and information sharing available between regulators. So all of this is being used by SEBI to their advantage. So I would say that while at one end there is technology available for insiders and traders who want to manipulate the market, at the same time, the regulator has taken notice of it, allocated budget, expressed intention, and is taking steps to ensure that they are ahead in the game and are able to pick trends or understand any unusual trades and start investigation.
If you see, SEBI has always been playing catch up with market manipulators. But over the past 3-4 years, the regulator has taken it a step further. While it previously relied on whistleblower tips to catch insider trading, now it uses artificial intelligence. The AI tools give alerts related to suspicious trades in real time, which are then investigated by SEBI. And the difference is for all to see. In 2015, SEBI had initiated 12 investigations into insider trading. That number went up to 161 in 2020, the most recent year for which data is available.
The change really is that they're not now waiting to get a tip through other sources and then use technology to investigate. They are using technology to actually get the red alerts and get alerts on unusual transactions, which then is followed by physical investigations, searches, seizures, etc.
An interesting instance where SEBI used all the tools at its disposal to solve a case was in 2019. SEBI got a red flag for suspicious transactions being conducted by a woman in Hong Kong. She seemed to be front running large transactions by the Fidelity Group, which is one of the largest institutional investors in the world. The woman made almost 2 crore rupees in 15 days. But she seemingly had no connection with the company. Here's Pavan explaining how SEBI eventually cracked the case.
So, natural course of investigation was to find out if there was any connection between this person and Fidelity. So, once SEBI started with this probe, the AI system again took it to a matrimonial web page of a Fidelity broker. So basically, in the profile of this Fidelity broker, this person who was trading from Hong Kong was named as his mother. So once that connection was established, then it broke the probe right open for SEBI, because they knew who could be suspected of leaking the insider information and who was benefiting for it. So essentially, they got the two crucial pieces of the puzzle. Rest was the procedural work through which they uncovered how much illegal gain they had made and also what was their modus operandi. All of these details could be found in the SEBI order.
Wow, that's quite a tale. With the casino AI system, SEBI now plans to up its game. The software is much better at sniffing out suspicious transactions than SEBI's existing tools. After all, casinos trust these tools with their money. Even one missed red flag could cost them millions of dollars.
Given the accuracy and the amount of vigil it can keep is really cutting edge. So yes, it is going to help SEBI in a lot of insider trading cases. SEBI already has a lot of AI tools at its disposal for surveillance, but given the unique functionality of this particular software, market participants expect this to become one of the prime surveillance tools for SEBI for tracking insider trading cases.
There is still some chink in SEBI's armor. While its surveillance has become superior with new tech tools, proving guilt in these cases remains a challenge.
So, cracking insider trading cases is not just a challenge for SEBI, but it is a challenge for market regulators across the world. From a SEBI point of view, typically insider trading cases hinge on two key elements. One is establishing a connection, and the other is establishing a business transaction. So, first leg is often very easy to crack. Maybe we have gone to the same school, maybe we have worked at the same organization, or we are related. So this connection can be made out through AI systems. But the second part is where SEBI has to do the investigative work. So essentially, second part of the probe is establishing that, let's say if I am a company insider and I have shared insider tip with a external person who has traded based on that information. Now SEBI has to prove that I have shared the information, and if possible, it also needs to prove whether I have made profit out of it. So these two things are very difficult to prove in court of law, because I mean, even the people who indulge in these sort of transactions, they are fairly sophisticated. They don't leave money trail.
Pavan, can you give us an example of this playing out in the real world?
See, in the last 3-4 years, one of the most iconic cases in insider trading has been the WhatsApp leaks case. So essentially, this happened around 2017 when it was found that the results of at least 30 listed companies, and believe me, the big blue chip companies, The results of these companies were being leaked on select private messaging encrypted platforms before the stock exchange announcement was being made. Hence, Sebi started a probe as to establish what was happening and catch whoever was the culprit who was actually leaking the information. So the investigation was two-legged. First, Sebi asked the respective companies to conduct their own probe and provide Sebi with a report. The second was Sebi's own investigation. So Sebi also looked extensively, combed all the data. In fact, it raided the premises of some of the analysts who were part of these groups who were sharing this information. So at the end of the day, they could catch hold of, I think, about three or four analysts, mid-level analysts who were working for brokerages. But they could never ascertain till date who was the insider who was leaking the information. So this is a classic case where SEBI has been unable to take the investigation to an eventuality.
Meanwhile, those seeking to trade based on inside information also tend to find newer tools. Moin, how are these people adapting now?
You see, I wouldn't know exactly what they're doing, but when a certain software or a certain application comes to their attention, they look at alternate options. Then it's just like an upgrade, software upgrade, right? Every time you find a bug, you're doing an upgrade. So SEBI is already doing an upgrade, and these guys are finding another option which is not yet into SEBI's attention. But SEBI still finds out, and then there's attention driven to that other application as well. So it's only a matter of time when this continuous process of upgradation goes on and on. And it's just like if a government would block a certain website, one would start it with another URL.
Quite a cat and mouse game, isn't it?
Clearly.
So that's where we are at. Whether it is the gambling pits of Vegas or India's stock exchanges, the watchdogs work hard to put a check on tricksters. An AI system used by casinos could well become a prime tool for SEBI's crackdown on insider trading. SEBI has been using several such advanced tools in recent years to counter market manipulation. The number of investigations in insider trading has gone up sharply. But the scamsters have also learned new tricks. They are communicating on encrypted platforms and erasing their digital trail. This has made it difficult for the regulator to prove these cases in court. But the screws are expected to get tighter on insider trading as Madhavi Puri Butch, who is known for her no-nonsense approach, takes over as the new SEBI chairperson. Thank you, Moin and Pavan, for joining us. You've been listening to SEBI's bet on casino AI on the Morning Brief. This episode was produced by Surbhi Modi from The Economic Times and Swati Joshi from Awaz. Sound editors Rajas Naik from The Economic Times and Saundarya Jayachandran from Awaz. Executive producer Arijit Barman. If you like this episode, do share it on your social media networks. We would really appreciate that. The Morning Brief drops every Tuesday, Thursday and Friday. Have a great weekend. This is your host Nehal Chaliawala signing off.